Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike We Play video. So Tarron and I are going to continue our little videos on physical attacks, and we're looking at pushing. We're going to push.
We're going to push. Now this one doesn't appeal to everybody because there is no damage involved. Unless you do it properly.
Yeah, not directly.
Unless you do it properly.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But there are some advantages to it. One of the most significant ones, I would say, is that 90%, I would say, of the scenarios that you get, the pre-made scenarios, will involve the fact that if you go off the map beyond a specific location, then you're out of the game. And pushing is an easy way to get someone out of that, off that map.
Yeah.
So the other one is the hilarity involved in pushing people off cliffs.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. And that's what we're going to look at. We'll have that as an example, but let's talk about the basics of it.
Yep.
So a push, you do need both your arms functioning. Okay.
Yep, and you can't fire weapons, remember?
No.
Because it's a physical attack.
You can only push opponents that are in your front arc as well.
That directly in front of you. The against its target, so it has to be the hex directly in front of the attacker.
Yeah.
And it's not torso twisting either, it's that hex.
Yeah, so where your feet would
Basically,
be. So,
yeah. You get a starting -1.
Yep, a bonus, which is nice.
Which is nice. You get +2 for shoulder actuated damage.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's not good. But none of the other actuators are mentioned. So that's cool.
Because a push isn't necessarily like that. It could
No,
be
you
just
can-
poof, like shouldering or whatever.
Pull
It's just you're just trying to displace from one point to another. So
and that's the big deal, is that you can displace the mech that you are pushing.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to be targeted by one push at a time.
Yeah.
So you can't have two people both trying to push someone off a map. So you may as well have the other guy fire his weapons. Try and blow him up before you push him off the map. That's always fun. And if you're pushing each other,
which we have an example of that happening.
Almost like we set it up. So two mechs are pushing each other, you resolve both attempts and apply the net effect. So if both fail, nothing happens. If both succeed, neither moves, and both have to make a piloting skill roll or fall over. And if only one succeeds, then you resolve it as normal and you displace the person.
Yep. So they can't go into a prohibited hex.
Yes. So anything that's technically prohibited. So, well, you'd have like.
Well, if you're at level 0 and you've got a level 2 or 3 or whatever behind you
so
can't
3
be
or
moved.
higher, you can't be moved back. So they can't push you into a cliff. You just have to do your piloting skill rolls and things.
Yeah, so you stay in your original hex, do your piloting check and see if you fall there. And the person pushing you would normally move into your hex if it's successful. It just stays where they are.
Yeah. Yeah, so any successful push attack requires the person that's been pushed to make a piloting skill check or fall over.
Yep.
And if you're pushed off the edge of something more than 2 levels, then you fall. It's an unintentional fall or whatever it is. So let's give that a crack.
Let's see if that happens. All right, so we have mechs here. So a Griffin versus a Wolverine that we've been using in our examples. So we won't keep the existing damage because, one of them's
nearly lost his head.
So that's
that was fun. Let's go back to clubbing stuff. No.
So they're both at level 3, and behind them they have, well, at least a level 0.
Yeah.
And you've got water. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, this could be interesting.
So we'll give them the
standard
bit of a
+1.
chance. Yep. So they're both warps and they both generated a +1. There's the dice. So they have a piloting of 5. All right. So 5, you get a -1 for a push. So we're going to do the Griffin first. So that drops it to 4. He walked. White dice is 5. His opponent generated +1, 6.
6.
All right. He got it.
He got it. Damn. I wanted him to fail. All right.
Okay. So under those, I mean, they both declared a push. So we should see what happens.
Finish both of the pushes, and then we'll see if the units displace or not.
So we'll try with the.
He'll need a 6 as well.
He'll need a 6. A 2. So no.
Oh, he failed.
He failed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
is the hex behind him more than 2 levels lower?
It is.
Then he falls.
Yep.
So the displaced unit goes back 1 hex, and you take his spot. And then it's worth noting, in charge, you'll have to have movement points left over in order to move into the hex that you're charging into. With this, you don't need to do that. So it's an automatic maneuver, okay? So don't fret about that one. So your fall damage is 1 in 10.
Yes.
1 for every 10.
Yep. So Wolverine is a 55-ton mech.
So it's 6 points of damage.
Yep.
But I believe you multiply that out by the number of levels that you've fallen.
It's levels plus 1, so that should be times 4.
Yeah, so he's dropped by
3 levels.
3 levels.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's 4.
So we need just with the normal falling, you have to find out where the damage is going to be applied. So you roll a d6 for facing. It's a 3. So 2 hex sides to the right. Oops, right. The other right.
Your other right, buddy. Yep.
Not the wrong, the right.
The right.
Okay, so we're doing 6 by 4. Split into 5-point groups.
Wow.
Yep.
So 24, so you'll have 4 5s and 1 4.
Yep.
And that's a lot of damage.
Yep.
That is a lot of damage. I don't care how big a mech you are, that's... Yow.
Then, of course, because it's a falling, the pilot needs to avoid falling damage.
Yep.
So let's assume that there weren't any other little criticals that happened from that fall. He just needs to do
a piloting.
Yep. 7. That's fine.
So he's okay.
He's okay.
All right.
But yeah.
It's also worth noting that if he'd been pushed into a hex at the same level, he would still have to make a piloting skill. So someone who is successfully pushed has to make a piloting skill check or fall over.
Yeah.
So even if you're not pushed off a cliff, which is hilarious, I'm sorry, but that's funny. Even if you're not pushed off a cliff, you still have to make a check or you'll fall over.
So we did talk about water in one of our other videos. So if the situation had been reversed and it was the Griffin that failed, so this is a depth 1 water hex directly behind.
Yep, and he's at level 3
as well.
Yep. So there's 4 levels difference.
Yeah.
Which means he'll do his 55 rounded up to 6 multiplied by 5.
Yep.
So he's taking 30 points of damage, but he's falling into water.
Yep. So it's halved.
So it's halved. So he's only taking 15 points of damage. So 3 groups of 5.
Which sounds good.
Yeah, but it's still not. I mean, as we've pointed out before, most physical attacks are doing a surprisingly large amount of damage. That 15, that's Gauss Ruffle level. That's more than a PPC. That is a lot of damage.
Yeah. And one thing about water is if you take damage and it's in a submerge, which he will be because he's going to
end up prone.
Falling.
Yep,
he's prone.
He's falling.
So any location that took that damage, you have to roll a 2d6, and on a 10, that area gets flooded.
The armor will be compromised and it will flood, and everything in that location will be destroyed. Will be considered out.
Yeah.
So if you, out of those 3 locations that are taking 5 points, even if you're a fully armored mech, if you roll a 10 on one of them, then it's out, gone. So if you roll it on your leg, your hip actuator, your upper and lower actuator.
So 3 statistics wise, there's 1. So one of the locations that we rolled has been compromised.
There you go.
So he saved on a bit of damage on the fall from water, but he's lost something.
He's lost whatever that location was.
Could be bad.
And if it's the center torso or the head...
It was a torso.
That was a torso.
Yeah.
XL engines.
Oh God, yeah. It's later tech stuff, yeah.
Oh dear.
It's good fun. So yeah, so that's it. Pushing has
6 is now.
pushing has its advantages, but it's
Right
all about
torso.
the terrain. The best thing is basically looking at where they end up during the movement phase and then deciding, do I want to forego shooting to do something like that?
Yeah.
Because that ultimately that did quite a lot. If this mech was undamaged and you suddenly drop me in the water, that's a lot. You've lost.
That is a lot.
Torso's
of damage.
flooded and everything.
Yeah, his right torso would have been flooded, and he would have taken 15 points spread across those 3 locations. So definitely 5 to the right torso, and then potentially 10 more somewhere else. Also, I think I mentioned in the clubbing thing, if you are having difficulties, don't let yourself get in that situation. Watch where your enemies are going, watch what they're doing, and don't let yourself end up on the top of a 6-story building with a griffin next to you, because he'll push you off and you'll die.
Yeah.
And that's urban maps. If you can find a canyon map or a nice big lake at the bottom of a arroyo or something, to make your own terrain up and make lots of different level changes and then start pushing each other off them, because it's hilarious.
Do the old King Kong thing at the top of a really tall building. Yeah.
Push.
There is a map that I've got. I don't know if they still make it. But it had like skyscrapers and things in it. It had like 30 plus level buildings.
Yeah. And there's no reason you can't do that.
Well,
There's no reason you can't do that. And you can set it up yourself if you haven't got the funds to do proper maps and minis and things like that. Just get your hex grid and make it up. As long as everybody knows what it is, it's okay. Just write building, harden, CF, and levels, and go, boop, that's what that is. And then you can start pushing each other off it.
That's right.
Because it's fun. That's Devo. That is nasty. He's going to have a hard time now.
So there is another thing that displacing units can come into effect with, which is what they call the domino effect.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So with 2 mechs, it's not an issue. But if you've got three units lined up, for example, well, put them on the
put them on the same level.
Yeah, something like that. Boom, boom. There's one there, for example. So depending on the facing and things like that, if this guy pushes this guy and he gets forced back, it's just, okay, let's try this again. Because I haven't got the 3rd mech. So we'll assume that this is a mech. Don't worry about the number or whatever it is. So he's pushing this mech here. So he goes into this hex. This guy can then basically react to get out of the way. Because if he gets attacked, he's going to get pushed himself.
Yep.
So that's the domino effect, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But just to know that when you're pushing other units into other units, that can be a thing.
It can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
For all concerned, except you, of course, because that's funny.
So this guy, he's all right, but he's just seeing all this action happening. So
yeah.
But yeah, they call it the domino effect.
Yeah, and you can have so if there had been a mech standing in that water hex.
Oh, here.
When he got pushed off there, there is the possibility for your mech to fall on top of that mech. And all sorts of damage and hilariousness will ensue.
That's right, and he'll get displaced as well, because that's the direction that it's coming from, so he'll get displaced here, and
they're going to
do checks and sorts of things. So
all sorts of stuff. So yeah, urban mechs, urban maps, large hill maps, mountains, that sort of stuff, lots of canyons and things, and you can have a whale of a time.
You can. So having the high ground is good, especially if you're like a missile gunboat and that sort of thing. And you've got long-range weapons.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely worth pointing out that you can't push from different levels. So you have to be the same level as your opponent in order to push them. That's important to note. So if you do have like a 1 hex level 30 building, then you're fairly safe. Well, you're going to get shot, but you're safe from pushing.
So that's the basics of it. Obviously, only mechs with arms can do pushing and things like that. So you can't do like a Spartan push kick sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
well, for a physical attack that doesn't technically involve any damage, those 2 guys just messed each other up.
They did
pretty badly.
Yeah.
So keep it in mind.
Gravity, not always your friend.
It is not a good thing. No.
So that's it. So look, if you guys have used pushing in your games and things like that, so let us know how it went. Give us some examples of the hilarity, because it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's great. It's the best.
So we're going to do some more videos, so keep an eye out for those.
Yep.
But that's
Till
all for
then.
now from us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys. 1995 for PPC. $20.
Search.
Surcharge.
I wasn't expecting that.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Secret charge.